All right. Long talk with the boys. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFL draft a little bit more. And we're going to focus in on who we think some winners and some losers are from the draft. Um, Teams that we think hit, teams that we think didn't, and even guys that we think are hits and guys we are a little shaking our heads about. Maybe not so much about them getting drafted as much as sometimes I think the spot they got drafted in or, what pick they were. So I'm going to start this one out with you, Mace. Go ahead and give us who are you thinking about?
When I'm going to start with losers, it's hard to do this. It really is hard to do this, but I thought the Patriots were the biggest loser, and 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 I know that they were drafting towards the end of the rounds and things like that, but they had a lot of picks. And I know the Duggar guy is a Belichick type guy, and probably everybody in this world thought that he was going to end up being a Patriot. Um, but I thought he went way too early. I thought the Patriots. It almost looked like a kid that didn't do his homework, and he was taking a test for the first time and sitting down and saying, "Oh, really?" I know that's not the case because it's Bill Belichick, but I think they really. I didn't like their draft. I thought the guys that they did take that I've heard of um, went too high. My other losers, and I hate saying this again because it's what everyone else is saying, but I thought Green Bay should have done a better job. I'm on the bus that says um, the Jordan Love pick was tough because, like you said, they're one game away from being in the Super Bowl last year. They may have been, the third best team in the NFL last year, and for them not to try to get any weapons or offensively or defensively, um, those are the two teams that I thought drafted the worst this weekend.
All right, Derek, how about you?
Um, I hate seeing this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I thought the Ravens were a big, big, big winner. Um, not just because of Dobbins. I think he's going to help and he's going to be good in the AFC North. But they got some studs on the line. They got a couple nice receivers that I think are going to help them. I don't know. I thought they were big. And my biggest loser, I felt, were the Packers. I did not I mean, they obviously surprised a lot of people, but that number one selection for them really surprised me.
Danny?
I was going to go along with what you guys said with the Packers until like I told you guys earlier, I went back literally like 2010 in the NFL draft. It is amazing how many first round guys like you think are below average when it's all said and done, especially guys at the end of the first round. I bet you looking at it just as I was doing notes, like 80% of those guys I would say end up below average. So that's the only reason I thought that was an interesting pick by Green Bay. Thought maybe they would that it may not be terrible at all. Because if you're going to roll the dice on somebody in this league, you might as well roll the dice on a quarterback. I do agree with what May said about they were one game away, but I mean, I like I said, if you look at the last 10 years, second round wide receivers pan out more than the first round wide receivers.
Yeah, but they didn't take him in the second round either.
I agree. I'm not saying that. I mean, you're right. I'm just saying that, honestly, so, other than if you're looking at just the draft, so you had the Brooks kid, the Queen kid, the Wilson kid. I can't pronounce the kid from Miami. And there was a corner from Texas Christian and then the Clyde Edwards. Like, literally, if you're looking at the last 10 years, one of those guys will be a highly productive player, and everybody else will be a 4 or 5 year player in the NFL and fizzle out.
There was a tweet, Danny, that was on Twitter the other day, obviously, that I thought was amazing. And it brought up basically the top 10 quarterbacks of all time over the last 30, 40 years, like Marino all the way to now. How many touchdowns has Aaron Rodgers thrown to a first round wide receiver in his career?
I don't think any.
One.
Wow.
Peyton Manning's thrown 300.
Yeah.
When you go down the list, everyone was been over 180, and then there's Aaron Rodgers who's thrown one, and that was to Mercedes Lewis, a backup tight end that they had at the end of his career. So I think Rodgers is pretty darn good. He's one of the few guys that I think can put a team on his back. So for them not to address the wide receiver position, the running back position, I don't think. I think the Dillon kid from Boston College is a 260-pound, get 5 carries a game type guy. Not, offensive line or their defense, I thought that was a mistake.
Go. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I can't disagree. That was going to be my point. Was I understand what Dan's saying about rolling the dice with the Love kid out of Utah State, but to take the Dillon kid out of BC, to take that kid, I'm like, it's tough. I mean, the offense that they're running, how many yards is that guy going to break? He's not breaking off long runs. And in today's NFL, you got to be able to score. And I don't know if you're plowing 3 yards in a cloud of dust with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. You're going to let it fly a little bit. And he is one of the few guys that I truly look at and I go, as Mason said, he could put a team on his back. He's the guy that, being from rooting for a team for years that has struggled at the quarterback position, he's one of those exceptional guys that you can put mediocre around him and he can make mediocre become really good because he's that good. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is that good. He makes other guys around him better. And there aren't a lot of quarterbacks in the league who do that, but he does. And I'm like, give the dude some help. I mean, draft some receivers and getting some weapons, because the beatdown they took from the Niners last year, both times they played San Francisco, they were beatdowns. It wasn't like, hey, we lost by, it was. They got dominated and they didn't have any answers. And for what they did during this draft this year, there's still no answers. What have they done this year is going to make them beat the 49ers this coming season? To me, it was nothing. I mean, I didn't see them do anything. I thought the Raiders, their draft, I like Arnett. I just don't know if Arnett's a second round guy you're going to take. What'd you say? Yeah, first round. That's right. He was one of their first round picks. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know. They're the Raiders, so
I'm glad you said that, Keith, because the Herd yesterday talked about the Raiders, and there were 2 quotes last year from quote unquote draft experts, and this is what they said about the Raiders draft last year. Mayock and Gruden have no clue what they're doing, and I'm not quite sure if they really, really, really are clueless or don't have any idea what's going on. And if you look at their draft last year, they by far and away had the most production out of the players that they drafted. Like their top four draft picks, well, 5 because they had 2 first rounders, all played and all contributed for them.
Well, again,
you're coming off of a 2-win season, though. I mean, when you plug in some first and second rounders, I mean, playing and being, super productive are 2 different things. Because I don't think the Farrell kid was that great. They took him 4th overall.
They took him 4th overall.
Yeah.
Now again, that just listening to experts say that they said the last 5 games of the season, he was one of the better players in the AFC West. Is what, again, I don't know that because I never saw him play. So
I thought the Ruggs pick was a reach. I couldn't believe that he was the first receiver off the board. I know Danny was in love with Judy, and I like Judy too, but I had heard a lot of things leading up to the draft that he might have kind of a bulky knee. But passing on Judy, Lamb, a lot of those other guys, and taking the 4-2 guy seemed like a really Al Davis type thing to do. I'm with you, Keith. The Arnett pick, I'm always shocked, and it's hard for us because we're not on the inside, but it's always hard to me. Like if you loved Arnett, you move back 10, 12 spots, pick up an extra pick and grab him. But maybe he was higher rated on other people's boards. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought he was a guy you could have gotten later on. I really did.
He was decent. I mean, watching him for the last 3 years at Ohio State, he was decent. I don't put him in the category of some of the other first round corners for the most part that came out of Ohio State, but he'll be productive, I think.
I think you're right, though. I think he would have still been there.
Yeah.
I will be. I like Jonathan Taylor going to the Colts. I think that's a good pick for them. I think he'll run the ball pretty well for them. I think he's going to be a good pro. I don't know, but I think he'll be good.
Speaking of which, I believe it was the Colts that took the Pittman kid from USC. He was the guy that I've really liked, and I just have kind of a funny feeling he may end up being one of the better receivers coming out of this draft. I just think he has the size and the speed and the hands and the production.
Who did you say again, Mace?
What's that?
Who did you say again?
The Pittman kid from
The
USC.
Pittman kid from USC. Yes, the kid.
He's a guy that I think is going to end up being really good. So he's my number one guy that I think probably went a little lower than he should have. But I think he's going to be a productive player in this league for a long time.
I agree with you. No disagreement from me there. All right. We'll end this one and we'll see where we're at. Looks like my boy Danny looks like he's frozen up here, so we got to unfreeze him.